aren't from England, which you know because they speak to you and you've met relatives who come here all the time, and I'm 100% English, you know that I'm a direct, and it is just one generation. See, it didn't say all this dumb King Henry VIII
But
stuff.
that's what I don't understand.
What she knew.
So, Sam, if you can remember, and maybe you talked about this with your mom, what I don't understand is this clamoring for additional heritage versus what you know. Like not being able, like I can say, okay, my mom grew up in Arizona, my grandmother was from Texas.
Right.
Now, what is this amazing clamoring for wanting to go back generation to generation? Like, what is that need for history that makes people want to go back that far? Like, what are you missing that you need that?
I can think of a couple things. With my family, it all started because there is a lot of unknown paternity. Over generations in my family. And so in addition to 23andMe, I have another relative who has been researching the family, just trying to find out who are people's fathers, trying to connect them. This person has had really good luck in finding different branches of the family, and that supplemented the 23andMe. But the bigger question of why is DNA and heritage testing become so popular is it's kind of mystifying to me, and it is gardening and genealogy are the number 1 and 2 hobbies in the United States.
Fascinating, because I've met one of those genealogy enthusiasts who's like spends all their time combing through records. They're like, well, what was your grandparents' name? And they will go and like find out, you know, and look through all of these things about who was buried where and do all these searches. And I found it interesting that he was so into that as a hobby either. I find it actually very morbid.
I wonder if this is popular in Europe. I mean, in England, my dad's family, they know everything way back and who the relatives are. That's why I said if somebody came up and they were like, and Henry VIII, we'd be like, clowns, who are you? But Americans love that. I know. That's why I'm like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, go talk to her. And everybody's like, this is my family crest. In England, nobody walks around like, this is my family crest.
Why
That's
are we
fake
not
stuff for dumb Americans?
You know, why are Although they have a really, really pronounced class system.
True.
Of course they do.
but why is not being an American enough?
That's not hearing that you're related to Henry VIII, and that's not saying that I have a family. Like, none of that is like.
But isn't that implicit?
What real English
if you have a class system and you believe that your family occupies a certain social strata.
I mean, it's changed. It's quite different from the 1960s than it is today. But yeah, there's definitely upper class and middle class and lower class, and you can tell it instantly by an accent.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Put on a British show for me, and I'll tell you who's supposed to be what class by the accents. Yeah, you can tell.
Right. Well, I do think it's also interesting. It's like, why is being American not enough? I guess is what I think is interesting. You know, why are we so going?
I don't know.
You know, so that part I do find fascinating.
It is interesting because my dad will say, and you know, excuse whatever he's saying, but he'll say, you know, the English is a Mongol race. It's made up by all these different people who came to the island over time and created this, you know, there's Norse and there's this and that, and it's all mixed in. And Americans don't seem to be satisfied by just calling themselves a melting pot and letting it be.
Yep.
You know, the English people came about by being a mix of people over time, and then they just, you know, because my dad will say, oh, you'll never really know the English are a Mongol race. We just got mixed in over time, and it's a big thing of ancestry that you'll never know. Americans need to come to terms with that at a certain point.
Well, I do think this. I do think that definitely if Ancestry.com is trying to get more African Americans involved, this is not the way to go about it. And I think they have now learned their lesson.
And Americans,
we will continue to drag them if they keep doing it.
Just be American, like the English have become English. Although they're battling with that again with all the immigration coming and it changing another time.
Well, that is today's edition of Did You See This? Did You See This? Today is brought to you by Mary McMillan Masters. And here she is talking to us a little bit about her most recent product. Hello, all. I am Mary McMillan Masters, author, entrepreneur, and enthusiastic woman certified life coach. Do you wonder what is wrong with you? Stop. It is a waste of your time. Honestly, that is one of the things that is most wrong with you. But do not worry. I am here to help. That's why I wrote my new book, Banking the Best You. It's filled with recipes for improving yourself. Order today and start whipping up a delicious entree, a better you. Brought to you by Enthusiastic Women Online, we birth success. I always love it when Mary comes to visit us. Don't you guys? It's always the best.
I sit up straighter.
Yes, I know. She's so proper. Finally, time for our final segment today. We appreciate everybody who's been listening as we are here on location at the Women Who Influence event. And, of course, our final segment does not change today, even though we are out on location. It is now time for Does This Make Me Old? Does This Make Me Old? And so we are now going to talk about a segment that I know is near and dear to our friend Judy's heart. Sharenting. And so what brought this up and brought this to mind this time, Judy?
Okay, so this is Sharenting is what I call it when people post pictures of their kids on social media, which is something that all of us do.
Correct.
But some do it more than most.
Now, I know you had an article about Gwyneth Paltrow, and we also read recently about Pink, who's decided to stop putting up pictures of her kids because of all the backlash she was getting.
So the reason why Gwyneth Paltrow caught the news was because she posted a picture of herself on vacation with her daughter Apple, who's now 14 years old.
Yes.
And Apple put a comment on this Instagram photo, literally,
love it,
that said, "Mom, we have discussed this. You may not post anything without my consent." And Gwyneth Paltrow publicly replied, "You can't even see your face." And Gwyneth's going to take the picture down.
Which I guess I'm torn. Because I'm torn. Because I also do on occasion put up pictures of my kid. And I usually, we're in a gray area on whether he has full consent on whether we post the picture or anything like that. But I do think sometimes as a parent, you still get to decide whether you're going to post it up to a certain point. Now, I try not to put anything salacious or anything that's like that, and I've never gone full mommy blogger, but I have talked about things that we're at before, or somebody gave us tickets to a thing. And so I am torn. I know, Judy, you have strong feelings about whether this is okay.
Here's another really interesting thing, and this happened in January, and I guess our show wasn't ready to talk about it till Gwyneth Paltrow did it, but I think this is fascinating. There was a pretty well-known mommy blogger, and she writes for a lot of at the Huff Post. She wrote this exact piece in the Washington Post, and it was called "My Daughter Asked Me to Stop Writing About Motherhood. Here's Why I Can't Do That." And I believe the daughter is around 10 or 11 years old.
Okay.
The daughter did not know that her mom was a mommy blogger.
Oh, okay.
She didn't know that her life was public, and as she became older, she discovered this.
Yes.
She realized that everything about her life was very public online.
Fair enough.
In very big, her mom is a very well-known blogger who
Okay.
blogs everything about her kids' lives. And when her daughter discovered this, she was devastated.
Fair enough.
And she said to her mother, "I really want you to stop blogging about me publicly. It really is devastating for me that this is happening. I don't want to be public." And the mom said, "No, I'm not going to. This is very important for me. It's my own personal reasons that I do this, and you don't get to tell me in my life what I do." And she wrote this whole piece about it. And most of the comments on this post were, "This mom is terrible."
Crazy pants.
And, of course, other mommy bloggers support her. And, I'm going to say, I have never really been on board with people who do YouTube accounts that they monetize with videos of their kids, people who do Instagram accounts that they monetize with pictures of their kids, and really even mommy blogger accounts that they monetize with content of their kids.
Fair enough.
And I think that the kids are going to grow up, and it's not a great... I used to blog and have a pretty popular blog just about my own life.
Right.
You can do it without having your kids in it.
Right.
And I don't think it's great. Even the people who say, "Oh, the kids want it and they love it," I don't think that it's their choice. And I'll tell you, when my kids were younger than what Gwyneth Paltrow's kids are, they told me to only let me put stuff on my social media that they had consent to.
And I think that's fair.
And I let them tell me, and I don't post with them that much. I mean, I always beg them on their birthdays to let me do stuff.
Right.
And then they get to see it, and they're like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, this year, my daughter turned 16, and she hates those cheesy posts that the parents do where they're all like, you're smart, and you're strong, and you're beautiful, and this and that. And I love doing that.
Right.
But she wasn't into this year, but she did a really cute party. That was her 16th party, and so they let me take a few pictures and post about that, and I backed off of doing the whole, like, I'm so proud of you, and I can't believe you're 16. You know, she wasn't into that this year, but we compromised.
Right, and I think that's
she
fair.
Gets say on it, and they're old enough to do that, and I post about them when I don't, and they have their own accounts, and I get to see their accounts. It's a back and forth.
And I do try to make sure that I am honest about some of the posts because I know that we have a very specific journey because my son is on the spectrum. So I do try to pick and choose and rifle through what I think. Most of my posts are about me.
Yeah,
but it's also about my journey as a parent and some of the things that we do. So I don't think it's always terrible, but I understand, like, one of the things that Pink seemed to have come up very often is that she could do no right on a lot of her posts where she would just go, well, here's just something that's going on with life, and she would think that would be a safe post, and people were constantly jumping on her. Wow. So maybe there's, I can see what you're saying, Judy, about where if you're monetizing it, I get it, but I do think that sometimes there is an honesty that I appreciate as a mom, being able to see other people's stories that they have going on.
Yeah, I think Pink was in a really tough position. I mean, her last one that threw her over the edge was the fact that she had her 2-year-old son. He wasn't in a swim diaper. People could see that he was circumcised, and that set off a whole big firestorm that people weren't happy about that.
Right.
And that's really private. But
Very.
And the other thing, she's a very public person.
Yes.
She doesn't have to share that picture.
Right.
I mean, I probably would have thought twice about it. She said she wasn't really thinking. Well,
and I've done that.
Need to think. And she's going to not share that content anymore.
Right.
And that's probably a good decision.
Right.
And back to Gwyneth Paltrow, if that particular picture bothers her daughter and she's super famous lifestyle blogger / actress, take it down.
Agreed.
I would never cause a 14-year-old girl distress on that level over wanting to have a picture up. What's it to Gwyneth Paltrow if she has a picture of her and her daughter up skiing versus taking it down? I mean, I myself wouldn't have a picture up that caused a girl who was 14 years old that happens to be somebody I'm responsible for. And even that other woman who does this mommy blogging in the Washington Post, you're obviously a talented writer, lady.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You can write about other things. And your daughter is at an age where it's really hard to be that age. And you don't have to write about her if it's causing her a crisis. I mean, I know we've had some difficult times as a family. You know, my ex-husband and I are divorced. And also, you know, it's just middle school. And I've had things where I've, dated guys and it's bothered her, and I always say to my daughter, like, is this like causing a crisis for you?
Sam,
is this really bad for you? And if something's really bad for her, it's whatever. If it's to the level where it's causing her that much emotional pain or something, it's over. We're going to do it differently.
And so Judy and I, since we're in that position where we have kids that are the age that can kind of be teetering on it, Sam, as a viewer, do you have a different perspective now that your kids are older? Because they're both adults.
They're both young adults, yeah. My main reaction wasn't as a step-parent. It was more, to this whole article, it was more coming from a place of somebody who, as an adolescent, was really bullied.
Okay.
Seriously bullied. And so when I read the article, my first thought was, and I've had this thought before, was how glad I was all over again that the internet had not come about when I was going through adolescence.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because I think with the kind of bullying that I experienced, if there had been images of me out in the easily available, right, to everyone, I think it could have gotten really bad. It's not to say I'm not saying people shouldn't post pictures of their kids. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that for me, that would have been my experience.
I think it's okay if they're in middle school and high school, like you said. Everybody can find them, and my daughter won't let me tag her.
Fair enough.
Or use her tags because anybody can find them, and I won't do that. I never tag her. I never tag her on Facebook. She doesn't want people to be able to find her. And, you know, we're careful about those kinds of things, and that's fair.
Right.
You know, sometimes just how you post it and what you say about it. And I think that's true with bullying and how people can make fun of you. If you're a 16-year-old girl and you don't want your mom doing a cheesy photo about your birthday saying that she's smart and kind and all that stuff,